This week on the Perfect Partner podcast, we are going to dive into this topic um, that's really like the backbone of any thriving relationship. We're going to talk about how to create an emotionally safe space in your relationship. We're going to talk about why having this emotional security even matters for a thriving relationship or a healthy relationship. We're going to talk about signs or indication that there's emotional insecurity in your relationship. And then I'm going to give you practical things that you can do to cultivate that safe space with your partner. Welcome to the Perfect Partner Podcast, a show for those of you who have not given up on love despite its challenges, where we have those sometimes difficult but productive conversations about those things that are really keeping you from having the love and a relationship that you desire. I am your host, Erin F. Darden. I am an attorney turned certified emotional intelligence coach, and I am on a mission. Well, I think it's my purpose right now to help people understand the importance of emotional intelligence and building and maintaining healthy romantic relationships. So I help women improve their communication, their conflict resolution, and their connection with their partner with emotional intelligence. In relationships, we all long for a connection that feels secure, open, and is deeply fulfilling, right? A place where we can truly be ourselves without fear or judgment. But this type of emotional, I guess, sanctuary, we can call it, it doesn't just appear, right? It's built over time with intention, patience, and lots of understanding. This week on the Perfect Partner podcast, we are going to dive into this topic that's really like the backbone of any thriving relationship. We're going to talk about how to create an emotionally safe space in your relationship. We're going to talk about why having this emotional security even matters for a thriving relationship or a healthy relationship. We're going to talk about signs or indication that there's emotional insecurity in your relationship. And then I'm going to give you practical things that you can do to start to cultivate that safe space with your partner. Can you guys believe I don't have any wine today? I just not in the mood right now. So I'm just going to light my candle instead before we have our conversation about emotional security in our relationships and with our partner. Let's talk about why emotional security, why it even matters. Emotional safety is essential for both partners in a relationship, even though it is sometimes underestimated. I think when we go so long without having our emotional needs addressed, we just assume that we don't need it. If nobody has ever asked you how your day was or genuinely cared about how you were doing emotionally, you grow to just accept that that is something that you don't need, but that's not true. Even if it's something that you are not used to, emotional security is important for everybody. And society has conditioned us to think that men specifically, they don't need emotional safety or that sharing emotions somehow makes you less of a man. But that's not true. You are a human. Every human has emotions, whether you know how to recognize them or not. We want to work on that. Every individual, every human, we all benefit from having a safe space to share where we can truly be vulnerable, knowing that, what we say won't be used against us, that people won't judge us for sharing. Because nobody is meant to keep everything to themselves. Nobody is meant to shoulder everything themselves. I was looking at a post on, I think it was Instagram, and the man in the video was saying how, he had to learn how to open up and share with his woman and to ask for help, and that is okay. And there were people in the comments, or it was one comment in particular, and the guy was saying like, no, like pressure and everything was made for shoulders, not hips. Well, that doesn't make sense because one, both men and women have shoulders and both men and women have hips. So I understood what he was trying to say. But after a while, it gets heavy. Right? I remember the first time I went to go see my psychiatrist, and he told me like, I'm tired. And I'm like, this is the same stuff. Like nothing is new. Like I've been doing all of this stuff for a long time. And he told me, or he asked me, can I hold like a 5-pound weight? I'm like, 5 pounds? Yeah, I can hold a 5-pound weight. He said, but what's going to happen to that 5-pound weight if I ask you to hold it for an hour or for 2 hours or all day? And I'm like, at some point, I'm going to get tired. He said, so it doesn't matter that you are carrying the same amount of weight. At some point, you're going to get tired. Oh, okay. Right. And so I think that goes for anything. At some point, we all get tired. We are not Superwoman. He not Superman. We need a safe space where we can unload some of those things. I don't let people call me a strong Black woman. I feel like that's a cuss word. I do not identify as such. Don't call me that. I need help. I'm not okay. But it took me a long time to accept that. I was one of those people. I don't need help. Like I'm a logical person. I'm an attorney. I can think through everything. But it came to a point where there was a time where I couldn't, where my emotions took over, and I had to learn how to deal with that emotional stuff. By keeping in all of these emotions, it actually affects your physical health, right? There's been studies and there's tons of articles out that talk about how, your emotional health affects your physical health. So, needless to say, this having a safe space to unload, right? Even if you're not asking for help, right? Sometimes you just need to vent. You need to let it all out. How do you think you are going to function if you never share anything? You just always hold everything in. Everything has a breaking point. A water bottle can only hold but so much. If you're not going to pour some of it out, when you don't, right, that's when you snap on people. And now you're the crazy one. But you've been holding all that in. So an emotional safe space in your relationship, that it has to be a non-negotiable for both parties. It has to be a non-negotiable. When we feel emotionally safe, you are more likely to experience better physical intimacy. A foundation of trust and openness can lead to more fulfilling physical intimacy as both partners are starting to feel more comfortable and in tune with each other. If you did not know, women are turned on outside the bedroom. And so let her feel emotionally safe outside the bedroom. Let her feel like she can tell you anything, that you want to have her back, that you're not going to dismiss how she's feeling, and see how she show up in the bedroom. Right? And it makes sense. Think about it. When you are beefing with your partner, sometimes the first thing off the table is sex. You don't have that emotional connection with them at that time. So you don't want to have sex with them when you're angry. Right? Same thing. If I feel like I could talk to you and I can open up to you about any and everything, I can be vulnerable with you, now I can give you all of me. And it just makes it that much more passionate. And I think as you are more connected on every level, then the physical intimacy just naturally enhances as well. Not just the physical intimacy, but the emotional intimacy will also increase as well, right? Sharing vulnerabilities brings partners together, right? And this will foster a deeper understanding of each other and a deeper bond, right? Think about your best friends, right? Your best friend is probably your best friend because you feel like you could talk to them about anything without being judged, right? And it's just something that is satisfying or nurturing about knowing that you have a person that will know your deepest secrets and they still there for you and they still love you. It's like, you know me, like, I'm a little bit crazy and you still here. That just going to create a bond that is y'all against everything. So that helps to create increase the emotional intimacy as well. And when you are emotionally safe, you have improved communication. When I don't have to worry about being judged, when I don't have to be defensive about how I feel. I don't have to defend everything that I say to you. Like, I could take the gloves off. When partners aren't on the defense, right? Conversations are more constructive and empathetic, right? We take time to see things from the other person's perspective, even if we don't understand it. And this makes it easier to address the issues, right? I don't have to worry about being judged or you dismissing what I'm saying. I could take the gloves off and we can really get to the issue, right? That means we're going to resolve the issue a lot quicker. They're not going to linger. We're not going to keep having the same arguments over and over again. And I don't know that we always think about it, or we try to downplay emotions, or I don't have emotions. You do. And if you are able to create this safe space in your relationship for both partners, again, both of you have to feel safe. And when you do, you will have increased physical intimacy, emotional intimacy, and better communication. You probably know if you feel emotionally safe in your relationship or not. But in the event you don't, the clearest sign that you might not feel emotionally safe is if you are hesitant to talk openly to your partner. If you do not feel like you can talk to your partner about any and everything, I think that that is the biggest sign that you don't feel emotionally safe in your relationship. And this can happen for a number of reasons, right? Maybe your past experiences. Maybe you share something with somebody else in your past or a previous partner, and either it was used against you or thrown in your face, or it just didn't stay between you, or maybe you didn't even get the response that you wanted. Maybe they were dismissive, or maybe not understanding how you felt. So that can create emotional insecurity, or you might be afraid of how your partner is going to react. Maybe your partner makes things about them. Maybe they just not going to understand you. It's a lot of things that could create an emotional insecurity. But over time, this apprehension to talk to your partner, it starts to create issues. It's going to hurt the trust and the connection with your partner. So it's essential. Like, you have to, right, address these feelings, right? And start building your emotional safety so that both of you feel free to express your feelings and your emotions without fear of being judged, without fear of their reaction, because without this safe space, it's no way possible to have a healthy relationship. Well, I guess you could, but no. Because even if you feel like you have friends that you can go and talk to, at some point, the issue is going to be with your partner. You got to talk to them to get, to work through the issue. So you got to have this safe space. And if you don't, I don't think you'll ever have a healthy relationship. So how do you create this emotional safe space? You may be on board, or maybe both of you guys are on board and you just don't know, what to do. Or maybe you realize like, maybe I'm not as emotionally secure as I thought. So let's talk about how you go about creating an emotional safe space. So I'm gonna give you, let me get my book. I have 5 tips to build an emotional safe space with your partner. Okay, I got my notes. Now, this first one, y'all have heard me talk about time and time again. This is always going to be probably number 1 on my list. And so the first thing that you got to do if you're going to create an emotional safe space is acknowledge your partner's feelings. Acknowledge their emotions. Acknowledge what they are telling you. Even if you do not understand, acknowledge them. When you say things like, oh, you got to relax, or you're overreacting, all of those statements are dismissive. And it's going to make your partner start to clam up and not come and talk to you. And that's not what you want. So, I hear what you're saying, or I understand how you could feel like that. Do something to acknowledge. I'm sorry that you feel that way. You always, always, always have to acknowledge how your partner is feeling. Do not dismiss them. Even jumping right in to explain why you did whatever action, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to talk about like dismissing feelings and all that probably in another episode, but you cannot dismiss how your partner is feeling. After a while, they're going to stop talking to you. And sometimes it turns into passive aggressive behaviors. They're going to silently hold a grudge. They're going to start sharing with other people. This is when work bay come into place. You never want your partner to feel like they cannot come and talk to you about any and everything. So always acknowledge. When you don't, it invalidates their experience. So even if the action that you did was intentional, it could have been. But what was not intentional, hopefully, was how you made them feel. And so explaining, dismissing, oh, you need to relax, you're overreacting, you're being emotional, those things invalidates how they feel. And their experiences they're experiencing, you cannot take that away from them. So you have to, first thing, acknowledge the second thing that you should do is ask them what they need from you in that moment. Sometimes they just need to vent, and so they just need a compassionate ear. They just need you to sit there and listen. Sometimes they may need a hug. Maybe physical touch is one of their love languages, and maybe they need to be embraced to feel physically secure at that moment. Maybe they need a sounding board, right? Ask your partner what it is that they need. And I think that's the best way to meet their emotional needs. And now I know sometimes the person may not know what they need. And so in that sense, maybe just try give them a hug, or, try rubbing their head or rubbing their back or being the big spoon. I love being the big spoon. But yeah, ask them what it is that they need. And they may say nothing, but at least they know that you are willing to help, or you're willing to provide support or whatever it is they need at that moment for whenever maybe they do think of something later on down the line. Number 3 is a big one. Well, they're all big, but never use what they say against them. Emotional security, it has to be built on confidence. And the minute you bring up something they said, like in an argument, and you throw it in their face, that's why you X, Y, and Z, now they can no longer trust you. And again, you don't want your partner to shut down and feel like they can't talk to you about anything. This next one, it kind of goes with the first one I was saying. Apologize without getting defensive. It is very common for somebody to say, oh, you did X, Y, and Z, or you hurt my feelings when you did whatever. And you jump in like, well, I ain't mean it. I did. You want to defend your action. And it's very common. I think it's like human nature to want to defend yourself. Don't do that. Again, it's dismissive. It invalidates their experience. It doesn't matter whether or not you did what you did intentionally, right? Sometimes intention matters, but even if it wasn't intentional, you still hurt the person's feelings, and you still need to apologize for that, right? That is when it's I apologize, I made you feel that way. You could say it wasn't my intention, but just sometimes always jump into defense so quickly, again, invalidates their experience, and it's just not helpful, right? Go ahead and apologize, a heartfelt apology. Take ownership that you caused this unintentional result. You didn't mean to hurt their feelings like this, or you didn't mean to cause them to feel however they are feeling. Take ownership of that. You did that. Something that you did made your partner feel like this. Whether you meant to or not, that's what it is. So make sure you go ahead and apologize. Don't defend yourself. And you can save the explanation for later if necessary. Sometimes an explanation is not going to make a difference. So you can save it. So just apologize, and maybe once things have calmed down, you can go and, explain if you really feel like you need to, but sometimes at that point, it's not necessary. And this last one is communicate to understand, not to win. Right? It's not about who's right or wrong. Actually, you probably are both right for the way that you feel, right? You have emotional reactions based on one, like how, like your innate emotional level, but also based on your past experiences. That's what helps create our like emotional triggers. So you're probably both right for how you feel, right? You're never, that's not something that you can necessarily help, not the initial reaction anyway. And so it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about really taking the time to understand what the person is trying to articulate, getting to the root of the problem. This is something that I have to help couples with a lot. And I actually just had this conversation the other day. I was texting with somebody, and I asked them how they were doing. And they said that they would be better if they could think before they talk. And so what I asked was, are you responding to what the person is saying, or are you reacting to how what they said made you feel? Those are two different things. And communicating to understand would be responding to what they are actually saying. That would be effective communication. But a lot of people get stuck on reacting to how what they said made you feel. Once you are in that mode, you put the gloves on and you feel like you got to defend yourself. But we just said in the previous one, we're not here to defend ourselves. We're here to address the issue and how you made the person feel. When you are able to prioritize the actual issue and the connection over your ego and feeling like you got to defend yourself, or you didn't like what they said or how it made you feel, that is when you are going to learn how to keep having these difficult conversations that's going to strengthen a relationship. So, the 5 things that you can do to cultivate this safe space with your partner: 1, always acknowledge how they are feeling. 2, ask them what they need in those moments. 3, never use their vulnerabilities against them. 4, apologize without defensiveness. And 5, communicate to understand, not to win. Establishing an emotionally safe space in your relationship, it's not just a bonus. It's a necessity if you're going to have a long lasting love. With emotional safety as a foundation, you and your partner will be able to work through any challenges with compassion. You'll enjoy a closer connection, and you'll be able to communicate openly without fear. It's these small intentional steps that lay the foundation for a love that is genuine and it's enduring. If you need help beyond these 5 tips that I gave you, let me know. I am here to help. You can go ahead and schedule a discovery call. We could talk about, your relationship challenges, your relationship goals, and how I may be able to support you in reaching those. Discovery call is free. I'll leave the link below. And I am also building a community of women, the Perfect Partner membership community. In this space, we are going to be diving deeper into building trust, improving communication, and fostering genuine connection. In the community, there will be exclusive resources, community support, and expert guidance. This membership is designed to support your journey to creating lasting, meaningful love. You can also join the wait list so you can start your path towards a deeper and more fulfilling relationship. If there's anything else I can help you with, like I said, go ahead and schedule that discovery call. If not, I will see you guys next week.